Well, greetings, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Lightbulb Moments. And we're pleased you're with us today, whether you're joining us live on the recording, which happens most Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time, or listen to the podcast or watching the YouTube. We're glad you're with us. We're also glad you are spending some of your precious A&T with us. That's attention and time. Very appropriate for today's episode because the theme today is find the time. Before we get to that, before we get to our guest, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors, Lightheart Sanders, the CPA firm, and then also Zenoti. Both of these companies are instrumental to helping make Lightbulb Moments happen. So thanks to them for being sponsors. You know, the timing of this episode is really good, and the guest is a really timely guest for this. And the theme of Find the Time is really a great one. And in fact, it's so great, it literally just came up as part of a planning meeting that we were having on the Qnity team. You know, for many, many years, myself and then Qnity has performed what's called Find the Money consults. It's essentially how I started out in the industry. It was a way to help small business owners to really do an assessment of their financial condition, performance, et cetera, called Find the Money. And stay tuned because we're actually going to start doing some more Find the Money consults coming up, especially piggybacking on the new data from the P&L study. However, not everybody is all about finding the money. And Qnity was really founded on the idea of earning great money, doing what you love, and have a quality of life. And so baked into it from the very beginning is not only finding the money, but finding the time. Because for many, that's the most important currency, and maybe the currency that they're missing the most in this age of burnout by several salon owners and managers. So we have a great guest today. It's a guest that I know and we know very well, and that's Sharah Madrone, who wears the two hats in our world. She wears the hat of being the owner of the Gervais Salon Spa, a 20-plus year business located in Eugene, Oregon, with 3 locations. So Sharah is a very successful salon owner who manages to take an average of 8 weeks off per year, which, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a little bit jealous of. She also wears the hat of working directly with Qnity clients, and she's on the front line working with salon owners and managers, and is able to see the sort of the state of mind and the state of business and how it relates to the state of mind, and really the importance of time and how time actually helps produce more money. And so Sharah, thanks for joining us today. And I guess I'm going to do, before we get to that, let me give you a little bit more background. Okay, so bear with me here. So Sharah, you know, you started your journey from massage therapist to an owner, and a little bit about your background: inspiring entrepreneur who fully empowered her team to make decisions while maintaining intimate business knowledge from a high-level leadership role. By implementing key structures in her business, Sharah takes 8 weeks off per year while her salons continue to thrive. Her practical approach demonstrates how owners of all sizes can achieve greater balance and deliver impressive business results. A passionate advocate for goal-setting transformation, Sharah believes deeply in tools that drive real change and will share insights on methodologies that boost growth, execution, profit, leadership, and engagement. Good morning, Sharah. How are you today?
Good morning. So great to be here, Tom. It was great to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me on again today. I can't wait to get to talk about some protected time today.
Protected time. I love that term. And why don't we just spend a moment talking about what you mean by protected time?
Yeah, protected time meaning really just taking time away. That could be a vacation, that could be time at home. It's just literally taking space outside of the day-to-day operations of our business to restore, to reflect, to renew. And for me, I want to start with first kind of like why I chose to do this. I love what I do. I'm like, I'm 22 years into being a salon owner, and I am just as passionate today as I was, probably more in some ways, because it was quite, as a lot of you guys know, it's pretty daunting in the first few years of business. And I absolutely love what I do, and I'm really passionate about it. But what I found was, as an owner, as a leader, it was incredibly difficult to maintain the energy, the excitement, the engagement, the passion that I feel is really important and necessary to be a strong leader, to lead my team by example. And so I kind of realized fairly quickly that every time I would take a little bit of time away from the business and myself would actually do better, that it would give me an opportunity to kind of zoom out and get some space and perspective. It also would give me an opportunity to obviously like restore and feel capable and energetic of coming back into the business. I didn't know in the beginning how important taking that kind of time would be. And now having at least, 14 years into this process and consistently taking those at least 8 weeks off a year, I now am able to kind of look back and see not only has that been a really incredible aspect of my personal life, bringing me a lot of joy and balance, but it's also been actually really positively impactful for my business.
Nice, nice. So share with us your current practices around this.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first and foremost, for me at least, I think that you really have to have strong, empowered leadership. Like you have to be able to, as a leader, to delegate and decide, I'm going to support my leadership. I'm going to support others and empower them. And that is not an easy thing to do. It wasn't easy for me. Sometimes it's still a journey of like, the things I let go of, and I still sometimes get a little bit of anxiety. Like for example, maybe 3 years ago, I have an HR director that now does our onboarding and hiring, and maybe 3 years ago, I transitioned out of being a person that hires new team members. I sometimes don't meet a new team member for a couple weeks after they've started, and that was like really intimidating and uncomfortable for me in the beginning. I thought, I have to have that connection with them. I have to pick the people that are going to be within my team. Like I had all this thing, like discomfort of letting that go. But I have, 3 locations and 60 employees, and the volume of interviewing, and we're always 365, we're always hiring and recruiting. And that just ended up taking up too large a portion of my time. So I had to slowly let that go. So it was very daunting and uncomfortable. And I just want to like let people know that when I started this process, it wasn't easy. It didn't always go over perfectly, but there is no question that I don't regret one moment of it. Like it has been, even with this hiring, I don't know about you guys, but I call myself the funnel in the business. Like I slow everything down in my business because I have a lot on my plate. I'm responsible kind of for the whole. And so I realized within my business, I actually slow things down. And that was included in many different systems and structures, but within the hiring process. So now that I've been able to finally take that leap and step out of that kind of control piece, I have incredible team members. We've like doubled the volume that we're able to hire and onboard because the process moves quicker. The systems we've had to set up in order to be able to do that have made our hiring and onboarding process better and more efficient. And I got to say, in my early days, when I kind of maintained kind of control over all those different parts, it's too many parts. It's too many moving pieces. I think even a fairly small size salon, I think you would be amazed at what you can get accomplished and how you can move things forward in a big picture way when you allow yourself to step out of some of the little pieces and you allow other people to step into that. So I think that's first is you have to begin the practice of how do I delegate? How do I just in my own self be comfortable and move through kind of the anxiety of letting control of some of those parts?
Yeah, let me unpack what you said here to because you packed a lot into that. So I think what I heard from you is leadership has got to be, I think, the X factor. Without leadership, it's very difficult to be able to find the time, especially the kind of time that you're talking about being away from the business. So leadership being the X factor, correct?
Absolutely. You have to have people that you trust. You have to yourself get comfortable with that process, and you have to have leadership in place in order to you get more done. Like it just makes sense. We as individuals can only do so much. So that process of creating and building key leaders in different positions has been essential.
Okay. Then the other thing that I heard here is the importance of letting go. And I think you shared an example that was particularly emotionally difficult, mentally and emotionally, and that's letting go of hiring new staff. I can totally relate with that. And the other piece that I'm going to pull out here is that there will be anxiety with some of this letting go. So leadership being the X factor, you have to be very specific and get uncomfortable in terms of area you let go of. And number three, this is not going to be without emotion. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Like I want people to, sometimes on the outside, people are like, oh my gosh, you have so much time off. You get to have so much freedom and flexibility. And that is an incredible gift. And I am so thankful to have it, but it isn't, you know how it is when you look from the outside in. Like I like to share the difficulties in these processes too. And it is not easy. You won't just one day wake up and be like, yes, I'm completely comfortable handing over the reins to an aspect of my business. You won't. It is not comfortable. It is something you have to kind of move through and give yourself grace that it's a little uncomfortable.
Let's be a little more specific in terms of your time blocking. And do you set a certain standard of number of weeks that you've allocated to be off per year?
You know, it's generally I end up taking about 8 weeks off a year, but it does kind of flex depending on other things that are going on. For example, if I open a new location, sometimes that's going to shift, and I'm going to take 4 weeks off that year. Or I have a sabbatical planned in a couple years where I'm going to take a substantially longer period of time off. And so I don't. I generally go into each year. I'm very intense about annual planning and using our 8 seasons. So I'm planning all of my time off, all of my trips, at least, well, a year in advance. And so I build that into our 8 seasons calendar so that I'm preparing. I think that's one of the biggest things when I talk to people who have a passion and a desire to have time off or to travel, but have a struggle with the execution of it. To me, it is literally building it into the calendar. It isn't a question.
Right. So let's stay here a little bit longer. So you said it varies a little bit, but eight weeks, 5 to 8 weeks. So over the last, let's factor pandemic out of it. But what has been the average then over the last 5 years? Give me a rule of thumb. Is it
It's 8 weeks,
8 weeks?
really.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because there's
then
been years where I've taken a little more, even on the years I've taken a little less. So it's very much, and I usually don't do 8 weeks at a time. Usually at the most, I'll do 3 weeks at a full time, but it's like multiple 2 week yeah, it's usually multiple 2 week sessions of travel.
Okay, gotcha. So that's another piece that I was going to get to is what's the longest, because when does it become a sabbatical and when is it just a little bit time off? So it sounds to me that like 1 to 3 weeks is your band here, with three being the maximum and one being the minimum, but a lot of times it's 2 week chunks.
Yep, exactly. And I'm always kind of expanding that a little bit. Like this has gone so well for, like I said, me personally and my business. I feel like I'm always looking for opportunities. Like the first time I took a 3 week sabbatical, it was a test. Like it was uncomfortable, but I'm like, let's see what happens. Let's proof my systems a little bit and see what happens when I take that kind of time. And what happened was nothing. Everything went so smooth, so easy. It was, but if somebody had asked me before, I would have been like, I'm not sure, like if that's really doable. Can you as a leader step away for 3 weeks? And so, for me at least, it's a little bit of like trying different things and testing what works and what doesn't work.
So is your ritual to start working on a year, so 2026? I'm sure you already have for 2026 certain blocks of time that you know is coming up. But what is your process? Here we are at the middle of the year. When do you start creating a definitive plan for next year, or is it iterative and you're always working on it?
A little bit of both. I always have things like I have 3 different trips planned for 2026, things that are kind of bigger chunks that take more planning. And so I have 3 already scheduled in my mind or in my calendar. And then when it comes to the annual planning, which we do every September, where we plan all the seasons, then I get a little bit more zoomed in and get into some of the kind of more specific, but it also does adapt throughout the year. You guys know something will come up in the year where an opportunity or a trip or something, and I'll take advantage or change. So I don't book in all 8 weeks in a year in advance because I want to leave myself flexibility to be able to add some great opportunity that arises.
So let's talk about another hat that you wear outside of being the owner of Gervais. Um, and that is working directly with owners and managers of salons as a coach and a guide. I mean, how does this topic really apply to what you're seeing out there and maybe the state of mind of a lot of owners and managers and how this would relate with them?
That's such a great question because for me, I just was kind of experimenting with this for my own self. Like this was a journey that I began kind of by myself and was directed by I have a passion for living an intentional life, this precious life we have. And I didn't really think about it in the context of how that would look for somebody else. And then when I started my coaching journey, I am absolutely stunned by the number of owners I get to work with, owners and leaders that have little to none, and I mean some none, who haven't taken time off in 4 years. I was shocked at how little protected time the owners and leaders that I work with take. And so that opened up a whole nother perspective for me and yes, I see this more frequently than not, owners and leaders not taking protected time within my coaching clients. And there is a direct correlation to, in my perspective, burnout, overwhelm. And when I see people who are able to take some of that time, they also have that experience of zooming out and getting a clear head. My productivity after returning from time away is through the roof. Like I am so clear headed and I have such a clear vision of what's important to me. And one of the things I see within my clients a lot is, and I'm sure those of you listening have had this experience because I know I have, where we feel like we're treading water or we're barely treading water, and all we can do, I describe this as being in the river. Like I'm in the river and I'm hitting the rapids. I've got things coming at me and I'm just dealing with what is arising in the moment, what fires are happening, what crises, what is immediately needed. And I'm just immediately getting hit in the face day by day, hour by hour, by all the things that are pressing. And for me, that protected time helps me shift to what I think my job and role is as the leader. Is I want to be on the banks of that river looking far down, like what's coming ahead, like how are we preparing ourselves to navigate what's ahead of us. And I work with people over and over, and that's where I can hear in their experience and their desire, the places they want to go. They want that perspective, they want that big zoom out, but it's so hard to attain when you are just in the day to day and treading that water. So I really like that kind of opened up for me of like, oh, this isn't just my personal like life goal of having good protected time. This is actually something that, from my perspective, is a massive barrier for a lot of my clients between both like health and balance in their own lives, and also equally vision and focus and clarity within their business. And I've lived that myself, and I see that in my clients over and over again, where it's a deep struggle.
You know, we also see this in succession planning. You know, a lot of owners will come to us looking at their succession plan and strategy. And we generally boil it down to what type of mode someone's in. It's grow or go. You know, those are options. Do you want to grow your business? Do you still have your are you making decisions and putting ATM into future growth, or do you want to go? And you know, is it time for you to transition out of the business to someone else that could take the reins and, you know, monetize your great work through a successful transition plan? But it's really the middle area that doesn't get a lot of talk, and that's the let go. And what we find in a lot of who we work with, they really don't want to go. They just want to let go. And they're tired of doing it all on their own. They're burned out. And it can extend their life as a salon owner if they learn to let go and enjoy you know, create a little more balance. So I don't know if you want to piggyback on that at all.
Yeah, I would say 100%. I agree and support that. I even do this because I believe that I lead by example. So I encourage my team, and within my company, we're really passionate about protected time and time off. And we really encourage and support time off within my business. And I will often have conversations with my team or my leaders when somebody's struggling with a feeling of burnout and they're having those questions of maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I'm, you know, this isn't for me. And normally for me, there's two anecdotes. One can be inspiration, like education, going to a conference or going to something that's inspiring you. And then two is vacation. I'm like, you might just need some time off. And if we try those two things, let's take some protected time. So owners, I meet and connect with owners that are really questioning if they want to keep doing this. And they are completely split in the middle between, I do love this, I do want to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, and maybe I want to get out. And I honestly feel that it's the same inspiration and maybe a vacation to get some perspective. And my team, I tell them, if we try those two things, if you take some protected time and if you do some inspiration and you come back to this and you're still having that same feeling where you're struggling, that's informative. That's communicating to you that maybe you are ready for a change. But don't, how many people do we see that jump careers or jump ship? And I swear, I'm like, they just needed a vacation. They just needed some time to just restore and reset. So I really think it's relevant for those who are struggling between that concept of go or grow.
So I've talked a lot about part of my journey, including working with the Strategic Coach Program by Dan Sullivan, which was very foundational for my upbringing as a small business owner myself, and then also in terms of helping other entrepreneurs. And it goes back to really when I went off on my own and created my own business. And so Dan Sullivan, you can Google his work. We actually featured some of his work at the first fill, the book, The Gap and the Gain. Where I'm leading with this is I want to come back to what you said about what happens after the time off and the clarity and the productivity. I'm going to put it in his terms. He has identified that there's three types of days. There are focus days, and these are the days when you're performing whatever is your unique ability, where you create the highest value and what directly generates the most money for you. Then there's things called buffer days. Buffer days are all the things that set up great focus days. It's the planning, it's the preparation, it's all the stuff that leads up to it. And then finally, there's what's called free days, which is where the point I'm making here. Free days, he recommends that you schedule them first. And his definition of a free day is one that is absence of doing buffer or focus work that relates to your occupation. And continually has stressed that after free days is when you have that surge in productivity and clarity that you were talking about. So I think you're spot on, and there's other bodies of work and there's other experts that really support what you're saying here. You use these river analogies, by the way. Yeah, I like those. And it's going to be a good segue into talking about me personally finding the time. So anyway, and then also being a bit flexible. So my wife and I were able to get out to the Oregon coast. And shout out to you for your sharing your wonderful property in Yashits. Did I pronounce it right?
Pretty close. It's Yachats, Yahats.
So I took a little bit of a trip down memory lane too, because when I was 20 years old, I had this insane idea to take a semester off from school and move to Eugene, Oregon from Chicago with a friend of mine. And it happened to be I think I might have shared this with you, but when I lived in Eugene for 3 months, your hometown, it was the highest unemployment rate in the country.
Mm.
And so we worked at this little place called Hilliard Street Market. So it was a wonderful trip down memory lane to go back to the beautiful Eugene area. And it was so great to spend time with you and see your salon and see JoJo and all of that. But it was that time on the Oregon coast that was just that restorative type time, and we were out there, I think it was 3 or 4 days and nights, and super small town, slow pace, all that kind of stuff is so important. And anyway, I've just encourage other people to do these things to get out of your area. They were pretty much free days for me too. So, and then your place and your second home out there is right basically on the little river there. So you live in such a wonderful area, and so shout out to Oregon and you and all of that. So.
It's a great place to be restored. We love to have, I mean, in Oregon's filled with rivers. We're just a water state. So it's a wonderful place, and it really is huge. I bought that house as a dream, but also as a great investment. And I can't believe how impactful it's been to be able to step away on small little micro protected time and completely, because I don't know about you guys, but if I'm home, I tend to be projecting or thinking about the things I need to get done. But when I go away over there and it's just a short drive, it is completely protected space. And, for me personally, at least, I'm a nature person. So walking along that river or walking along the ocean for me is a moment of just, I get unbelievable clarity. I've listened to some of the most impactful books over there that have made huge differences in my business, just simply because I got quiet. I took time away out of those, rapids, and it's also pleasurable and joyful on a personal level, but the professional impact has been huge.
Yeah. And, I personally, I like to get in the woods every day, and we have a great regional park that's almost seconds away. Getting in the woods, exercise, family. I mean, those are the things that I find my time for. Uh, let's segue over to go back to leadership for a moment and be a little bit more specific for leadership. Now, our listeners are going to be from a variety of different places: schools, salon owners, managers, single location, multi-location. But you're in that multi-location universe, and it's interesting timing that we're having this conversation because of two things going on that sync up with our conversation. Number one is we're putting a spotlight on GMs, and in working with multi-location for I don't know how many years, and running multi-location myself, you are even more dependent on your managers and leadership team because you're spread out. You don't necessarily have all that face time. So we are going to profile, and we are going to put a spotlight on. We've been working on this for a long time. Some of the top multi-location GMs in the country. You happen to have one, and it's Joanna, who also goes by JoJo. Hopefully, I don't know if she's tuned in today, but she probably will listen to this recording so she can get red in the face with the pride that you're going to share with her. So that role is so important. Is having a number two. In the world of EOS operating system, they call it an implementer, integrator, relative to the visionary. So let's unpack, more specifically when it comes to leadership, but the importance of that number two, whether you're single location or multi-location.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I just could talk hours just about this and her, and it's a huge focus and a topic. And so I want to start with the same thing before, which is it has been a journey. I have had multiple leaders and multiple managers, and each one of them has gifted me different things, and I have learned different things. And sometimes, especially right now with Joanna, I look back and I'm like, all of my experiences with leadership and managers and different roles have brought me to this moment with my Joanna. She is such an extraordinary leader. And some of that is just literally who she is. She is the right person in the right role. And that is like, sometimes you guys know, sometimes that's luck. Like you can find that incredible person. But for me, it's also been a process of, just like everything else, when I first started assigning small leadership roles, and they started small. Sometimes when I talk about, I have an HR director, or I have this person is, the marketing director. When I talk about these roles and we're in a smaller business, I was a small salon in the beginning too. It started with like one key lead, and then developing as the business grew and as that leader grew, being able to add more people. And so first, you just have to start and see an opportunity with somebody on your team and practice that delegation, because you can't, like, nobody could jump to where I am now with, having a general manager that has so much impact and handles so many aspects of my business until you've gone through some of those processes. But so one is give yourself time and just start learning what works for me, what doesn't work for me, talk to others that have had that experience. But when I talk and think about when I think about my general manager now, when I think about Joanna and where I am in this moment, not only I kind of had a vision of, I wasn't necessarily thinking I wanted to be growing dramatically larger now, or that was my focus. I just wanted more support, and I wanted to honestly be able to serve my team better. And as we got to the size that we are, especially adding the third location, I just realized I'm really not able to serve them in the way that I think that is deserving of the team. And secondly, I got to be honest, there was a part of me, this is 22 years, that doesn't want to be the boots on the ground anymore. That I really care about my team a lot, deeply, but I was kind of ready to stop having some of those same conversations every day, same things, just not because any of them were necessarily terrible or bad, but because I just was ready for a new challenge and a new thing. And so that's one of the things that led me there. And having that person that is the day-to-day boots on the ground has been, I can't believe how much it's impacted the business as far as being able to grow the quality. My team was nervous. It took time for me to train my team to be going to another person, to trust another person. And at this point, they've gone through, in my whatever 15 years of having managers, they've probably gone through about three or four different leaders. And each time that leader changed, they would be terrified. Oh no, this person's gone. And then the next person would arise and they were like, oh, this is working out. So now when the transition happened with Joanna, the team had already had that comfort of like, Sharah's got us. She's never going to put somebody in a position that isn't going to be a wonderful leader. And then I get to just watch them celebrate and embrace. And so for Joanna, it's been an amazing, integration, because the team is just overly supportive and positive and excited to have her because she does such a good job. For me, that's been a shift of, I had to bring up, and this is a little bit newer too, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I had to bring supporting those leaders and those GMs up to my top priorities. So I have 2 top priorities as a leader and owner. One is finance. I own finance and I keep my focus on finance. And 2 is I support my leadership team. I will not skip meetings with them. I will, I always want to make sure they are overly supported because they're doing so much. And that I kind of had to find my way of what that looked like and how to do that. And in order to do that well, again, I had to let go of some more things. And each one, like working with a high level leader like Joanna, I am blown away at how many things she's improved or things that have gone better within the business that I had kind of lost perspective on. My one-liner for Joanna is she solves problems before I know they existed. So something I'll just find out later, this thing arose or this situation happened and she has already problem solved. And that, what a gift, right? How many of us would love to be able to feel like, boy, I didn't even have to know about the problem or the situation and it was already handled. It takes focus and effort. Like I said before, I know how hard this job is to be a general manager because I was, right? We a lot of us have been in each of the roles that we're then going to hand over. And so I know how hard that is. So I prioritize her protected time, her inspiration, and her like quality of life. I put a high focus because I'm in it for the long haul. I want it to work out with her for a really long time. And so I have to be dedicated. If we overutilize or don't support our leaders in the same kind of quality that we want for ourselves, they're gonna have the same burnout issues. So I have to stay really focused on making sure every meeting I have with them, we basically do a rating of their stress. Like, where are you at right now on the dial? And if any of them start getting high on the dial, we make a plan. It's usually protected time. It's usually something that's restorative. And that has made a huge difference so that because obviously once you have these key people, that was a lot.
It was great. And, if someone's going to find the time, especially find the time in the kind of chunks you're talking about, maybe 8 weeks off a year, 3 weeks off at a time, there's a direct correlation between leadership and peace of mind. Because it's one thing to carve out time in the calendar and then be stressed free and have peace of mind, as opposed to having a week on the calendar and feeling tethered to the business and not having peace of mind and have that time away from the business not really restorative. By the way, I remembered, so I was in your Fifth Street location, right? And
Yeah.
she was there. She gave me a tour, and I walked out. I was there with my wife Mary, and we were just in the area doing some other stuff. And I thought, I've got to go back and take a picture. So I took a picture of me and Joe.
Oh, yay. Hi, Jojo.
I'll have to
That's a
send it to
great
her. So
picture. I love that.
yeah, so shout out to the managers, the GMs, whatever you call them, director of operations, VP of whatever, but the number two is the managers. Shout out to them. What they do is they provide so much value to everybody. And what we're highlighting today is the value they actually provide also to the owner, so the owner can actually find time. Because if an owner is stressed and the owner is feeling like they're not on the pulse of the visionary aspect, everybody else feels it. So, all right,
Absolutely.
I'm going to go to one other subject before we wrap up, a timely one that's just a little bit ironic in terms of what we're talking about. So we are literally opening up registration for 2 to 10, might even be today. We've actually have several people that already pre-registered. I think we've already are a chunk to our capacity, but we made a fundamental shift to 2 to 10 last year. And this is very relevant to what we're talking about. So 2 to 10 has been around, I think 16 years now, and it's had several evolutions to it. And I'm proud of the evolutions. It's changed. And we made a change last year to move it from a conference to a retreat. It was a very disruptive practice on our end. We intentionally downsized it a little bit. We picked a really wonderful place to go that's great for the body, mind, and spirit. And that is Palm Springs at a absolute killer hotel, the Thompson Hotel, right downtown Palm Springs. So we decided to go back. And we decided to also keep the retreat theme because, to your point, if the owners and managers don't have that restorative time, then everything's going to suffer. So we changed the agenda. So baked into it is a little bit of that restorative type nature, So I'm super excited to be going back to Palm Springs to continue the retreat theme. And I think you've got 2 or 3 people joining you this year.
Yeah, we're so excited. That location, that everything about 2 to 10 is amazing. I've been to many of them, but that one in Palm Springs last year was incredible. So as soon as we found out that it was going to be in the same location and the same format, the location's beautiful, but you guys do a great job of picking great spaces. But that one last year was amazing. And I got to take Joanna for the first time to that one. It's her favorite of everything. We go to Sirius and Phil. We go to as many things as we can. And the 2 to 10 is one she talks about the most because I think the main reason, it was beautiful and we had some of that restorative time, but she was really impacted by the connection with other managers. Like, that was so huge. Like, she's already excited and looking forward to going back and seeing those people. You guys did such a good job too with this one. One of my favorite things is that because we all stayed on site, there was great food on site, great, pool and relaxation. the amount of time we got to spend outside of just the conference, just talking to each other and spending time in kind of a restorative way, but still, like, I kept having to work on her. She wanted to be talking about work until like 10 o'clock at night in the pool with everybody. And I was like, you don't have to keep working. Like, you can go and rest or have free time. But she was so inspired and like so hungry to be with other leaders. She really just, it was a huge impact. So now I'm taking two of my key managers, including her and myself. So there'll be four of us total this year. And that was huge for her. Like, just made her not feel alone, just like us as owners when we go and connect with each other. It just made a huge difference. It's honestly what we are most looking forward to each year is 2 to 10.
Yeah, nice, great. Well, and we're going to have a lot of these such mentioned GMs, number twos, managers, because that ability to connect with each other is just huge. So super excited about it. Great timing for our conversation today. Let's give Sharah a virtual round of applause. If you want to give her a little shout out in the chat there. And Sharah, you'll be getting another $1 million light bulb. So yeah, what a great episode. Remember, folks, in closing, find the time. I think everybody should listen to this episode or listen to it again. I'm going to listen to it again because I've got to find the time too. So
well, thanks so much for having me, Tom. This was such a treat, and I really do. It's a joy to be here, and I love to share. So I'm excited to have been invited again. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you at a future episode of Lightbulb Moments.